This message finds you because you are ready to hear it. Beloved, this message arrives not to warn you, not to impress you, but to steady you. There has been movement beneath the surface of your life, subtle, persistent, undeniable. Even if you could not name it, you felt it. You are not imagining the shift. Something within you has already changed. Beloved, you are being reminded that clarity does not always arrive as revelation. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet refusal to continue living out of alignment. You begin to sense what no longer fits, even if you cannot yet articulate what will replace it. This is not confusion. This is transition. You may notice that you are less willing to tolerate internal contradiction. Saying yes when your body says no feels heavier now. Remaining silent when truth asks to be acknowledged creates discomfort. This discomfort is not meant to punish you. It is meant to guide you. Beloved, archangelic guidance at this moment emphasizes inner congruence. When your thoughts, words, and actions move in the same direction, energy flows cleanly. When they diverge, fatigue and frustration appear. These are signals, not failures. You are also being guided to trust the wisdom of pause. Not every moment requires response. Not every invitation requires acceptance. Stillness is not avoidance when it is chosen consciously. It is preparation. Beloved, another message present now concerns self-respect. You are learning that honoring yourself does not require withdrawal from the world. It requires discernment within it. You engage without abandoning yourself. You may feel a growing preference for depth over volume. Fewer conversations, but more honest ones. Fewer commitments, but more meaningful ones. This refinement is alignment expressing maturity. Guidance now also highlights responsibility for your inner narrative. How you speak to yourself matters. Inner language shapes perception. When self-talk becomes kinder and more precise, clarity strengthens naturally. Beloved, you are not being asked to become perfect. You are being invited to become consistent. Consistency builds trust within yourself. And when you trust yourself, decisions become lighter. You may notice that your intuition feels calmer now. It does not rush you. It does not dramatize. It simply informs. This calm guidance is easier to miss, but more reliable. Another message here is about letting results arrive without gripping them. Action taken in alignment does not need constant monitoring. When you release the urge to control outcomes, energy returns to the present moment where it belongs. Beloved, understand this. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not failing to become who you are meant to be. You are learning how to stay with yourself as you become. Remain attentive to what brings steadiness rather than stimulation. Remain honest when something asks to be released. Remain patient when clarity arrives gradually. This message does not promise dramatic change. It promises sustainable alignment. Beloved, when you live from this place, life responds quietly but accurately. And in that quiet accuracy, you will recognize that guidance has never left you. It has simply matured with you. Beloved, as the message continues, you are being guided to recognize how deeply you have already integrated awareness into your daily life. You may not notice it at first, because true alignment does not announce itself loudly. It settles in quietly and begins to shape how you respond rather than what you say. You may observe that situations which once pulled strong emotional reactions from you now feel manageable. This is not because you care less. It is because you understand more. Understanding softens resistance and sharpens choice. Beloved, another message present now concerns self-honesty without self-attack. You are learning to acknowledge misalignment without turning it into a story of failure. Correction becomes simple when shame is removed. You adjust and you move on. You are also being guided to respect your internal timing. Not everything that is possible is meant to happen now. Discernment allows you to recognize when waiting is an act of wisdom, not fear. Beloved, archangelic guidance at this stage emphasizes presence over prediction. When your attention stays with what is actually happening, the future organizes itself naturally. Anxiety decreases because imagination is no longer running ahead of reality. You may notice that you are less interested in convincing others of your perspective. This is not withdrawal. It is confidence rooted in coherence. When your life reflects your truth, explanation becomes optional. Another message here involves emotional responsibility. You are learning that feeling deeply does not require reacting immediately. Space between feeling and action preserves clarity and prevents regret. Beloved, you may also sense that your values are becoming clearer. Choices simplify when values are known. Confusion often comes not from lack of options, but from unclear priorities. Guidance now supports gentleness with yourself during growth. Progress does not need to be harsh to be real. Sustainable change happens through attention, not pressure. You are being reminded that alignment is not rigid. It breathes. It adapts. It responds. When something no longer fits, you are allowed to change your approach without self-judgment. Beloved, remain attentive to what feels internally consistent. Remain patient when clarity unfolds gradually. Remain grounded when uncertainty arises. This message continues not to push you forward, but to anchor you where you stand. And from that grounded place, the next step will reveal itself, naturally, quietly, and in its proper time. Beloved, as this message moves deeper, you are being guided to notice how clarity now arises from within rather than from external cues. You are no longer scanning the world for permission or direction. You sense alignment internally and act from that knowing. You may observe that your decisions feel less dramatic. There is less inner debate, fewer justifications, and more quiet certainty. This does not mean choices are always easy. It means they are cleaner. Beloved, another message present now concerns acceptance of your own evolution. You are not the same person you were, and you are not required to behave as if you are. Holding yourself to outdated versions of yourself creates unnecessary friction. You are also being guided to recognize when effort becomes over-effort. Pushing beyond clarity drains energy. Alignment invites appropriate effort, no more, no less. Beloved, archangelic guidance at this stage supports emotional literacy. You understand what you feel without being consumed by it. Emotions inform you, then release. This allows you to stay responsive rather than reactive. You may notice that your tolerance for ambiguity has increased. You do not rush to resolve uncertainty. You allow it to exist while you continue living fully. This patience protects insight. Another message here involves releasing the need to be understood by everyone. Being clear with yourself is enough. Misunderstanding does not invalidate alignment. Beloved, you may also sense a quiet joy in simplicity. Small moments carry weight. Ordinary experiences feel sufficient. This contentment is not complacency. It is grounded presence. Guidance now emphasizes follow-through. What you begin aligned, you are encouraged to complete with care. Incompletion creates subtle tension. Completion restores flow. You are reminded that alignment is strengthened through practice, not theory. How you show up consistently matters more than what you understand conceptually. Beloved, remain attentive to what feels clean and true. Remain flexible when adjustment is needed. Remain steady when progress feels subtle. This message is not urging transformation. It is affirming integration. And as integration deepens, life begins to feel less fragmented and more whole. one coherent movement rather than many competing directions. Beloved, as this message continues, you are being guided to recognize the strength of quiet alignment. This is the phase where you no longer seek signs constantly, because your inner state has become the signal. You trust your orientation even when nothing external confirms it. You may notice that your relationship with effort is changing. You still act, you still care, but you no longer strain. When something requires force to sustain, you question it. When something flows with steadiness, you respect it. This discernment saves energy and preserves clarity. Beloved, another message present now concerns emotional transparency with yourself. You are learning to name what you feel without exaggeration and without suppression. This honesty prevents buildup. What is acknowledged does not need to explode later. You may also sense a shift in how you experience responsibility. It no longer feels like pressure. It feels like authorship. You recognize what is yours to hold and what is yours to release. This clarity simplifies your inner world. Guidance now emphasizes attentiveness to subtle misalignment. Small discomforts are noticed earlier. You adjust sooner. This prevents larger disruptions. Maintenance replaces repair. Beloved, archangelic influence at this stage supports grounded humility. You know what you know, but you remain open to learning. You are confident without becoming rigid. This openness keeps alignment alive. You may notice that your attention span feels more intentional. You choose where to place focus rather than scattering it. Presence deepens when attention is respected. Another message here involves patience with others' timing. You no longer need everyone to move at your pace. You allow difference without superiority or resentment. This creates relational ease. Beloved, you are also being guided to respect rest as an active state. Stillness integrates experience. Without integration, growth becomes unstable. You are allowed to pause without losing momentum. You may sense that some answers arrive not as thoughts, but as a feeling of enough. Enough analysis. Enough delay. Enough engagement. This internal signal is trustworthy. Remain attentive to quiet signals. Remain honest when something needs adjustment. Remain gentle with yourself during refinement. This message does not demand change. It supports coherence. Beloved, as coherence stabilizes, life becomes less reactive and more responsive. You move through it with a calm precision that does not seek attention, yet leaves little confusion behind. Beloved, as this message reaches its next layer, you are being guided to live from inner agreement rather than inner negotiation. You no longer need to convince yourself of what is right. When alignment is present, the body, mind, and intuition settle together. You may notice that hesitation has changed form. It is no longer fear-based. It is informational. When you pause now, it is because something needs clarity, not because you doubt yourself. This distinction brings confidence without pressure. Beloved, another message present now concerns respect for your own limits. You are learning that limits are not restrictions. They are structures that protect clarity. When you honor them, energy stays clean and intentions remain intact. You may feel a growing preference for truth spoken simply. No embellishment. No defense. No performance. Words become fewer, but more accurate. This precision strengthens trust in yourself and others. Guidance now emphasizes alignment between desire and capacity. Wanting something does not mean forcing it immediately. You are learning to let readiness meet intention naturally. This patience prevents distortion. Beloved, archangelic influence at this stage supports emotional steadiness. Even when emotions rise, they do not destabilize your sense of self. You feel fully without being pulled off center. This balance is integration in motion. You may notice that you are less reactive to uncertainty in others. Their confusion does not require your resolution. You allow them their process without absorbing their tension. This detachment is compassionate, not cold. Another message here involves self-validation. You are learning to acknowledge your own effort, growth, and clarity without waiting for external recognition. This internal acknowledgement strengthens autonomy. Beloved, you are also being guided to notice where simplicity brings relief. Complexity that once felt stimulating may now feel draining. This shift is not loss of ambition. It is refinement of focus. You may sense that your intuition communicates through calm certainty rather than urgency. When something aligns, it feels settled. When it does not, it quietly resists. This signal is reliable. Remain attentive to internal agreement. Remain respectful of your boundaries. Remain patient with unfolding readiness. This message does not rush you toward outcome. It anchors you in alignment. Beloved, as you continue from this place, life organizes itself around what is sustainable, truthful, and clear. And from that organization, progress unfolds without force. Steady, intentional, and true. Beloved, as this message continues, you are being guided into a deeper trust of continuity. You no longer measure alignment by moments of inspiration, but by how steadily you remain clear over time. Consistency has become your quiet strength. You may notice that your emotional landscape feels more even. Peaks and valleys still exist, but they no longer dominate your perception. You move through them with awareness rather than resistance. This steadiness preserves energy and focus. Beloved, another message present now concerns self-correction without self-criticism. When something feels off, you adjust gently. You do not spiral into judgment. This efficiency allows growth without unnecessary suffering. You are also being guided to respect the value of repetition. Returning to what grounds you. Simple practices, honest reflection, quiet presence, keeps alignment intact. There is no need to constantly seek novelty. Guidance now emphasizes discernment between noise and necessity. You are learning to filter information, commitments, and expectations carefully. What does not serve clarity is allowed to pass without engagement. Beloved, archangelic influence at this stage supports calm leadership in your own life. You take responsibility for direction without demanding control. You guide yourself with steadiness rather than force. You may notice that your patience with process has deepened. You understand that results unfold through sustained attention, not urgency. This patience reduces pressure and increases precision. Another message here involves trust in gradual integration. Not every realization requires immediate action. Some insights need time to settle before they can be expressed effectively. Beloved, you may also sense a growing comfort with neutrality. You do not need to react strongly to every stimulus. Choosing when to respond preserves clarity. You are being reminded that alignment thrives in simplicity. Overcomplication dilutes focus. When you simplify, intention sharpens naturally. Remain attentive to what keeps you steady. Remain honest when recalibration is needed. Remain patient with long-term unfolding. This message is not pointing toward a destination. It is reinforcing a way of moving. Beloved, as this steadiness continues, guidance feels less like direction and more like structure. And within that structure, your path remains clear, quietly, reliably, and without confusion. Beloved, as this message unfolds further, you are being guided to embody steadiness even when external validation is absent. This is the phase where alignment is maintained internally, without needing confirmation from outcomes, reactions, or reassurance. You may notice that your motivation feels quieter but more reliable. You act because something is right, not because it will be noticed. This internal orientation preserves dignity and clarity. Beloved, another message present now concerns self-trust during ambiguity. You may not always know what comes next, but you trust your capacity to respond when it arrives. This confidence removes fear from uncertainty. You are also being guided to recognize when effort becomes unnecessary. Sometimes the most aligned action is to stop pushing and allow space for recalibration. Restoring balance is productive. Guidance now emphasizes restraint as wisdom. Knowing when not to speak, not to act, not to engage protects alignment as much as decisive movement does. Silence becomes intentional rather than passive. Beloved, archangelic influence at this stage supports emotional containment without suppression. Feelings are acknowledged, held, and processed without overflow. This containment creates inner safety. You may notice that comparison has lost much of its power over you. Others' paths no longer feel like measures of your own. You respect difference without diminishing yourself. Another message here involves clarity and intention. You are being guided to check why you want what you want. When intention is clean, action follows naturally. When intention is mixed, discomfort signals the need for reflection. Beloved, you are also learning to let go of urgency around resolution. Not everything needs to be solved immediately. Some things clarify through continued presence rather than intervention. You may sense a deeper connection to rhythm, knowing when to advance, when to pause, when to observe. This rhythm is not imposed. It is felt. Remain attentive to inner steadiness. Remain honest when alignment wavers. Remain patient when clarity unfolds gradually. This message does not call for acceleration. It supports endurance. Beloved, as you continue from this place, alignment becomes something you carry rather than something you seek. And from that carried clarity, each step forward remains deliberate, balanced, and true. Beloved, this final part of the message invites you into recognition rather than instruction. You are no longer being guided step by step because you have learned how to remain aligned without constant direction. Awareness has become your natural posture. You may notice that your sense of self feels settled, not rigid, not fixed, but rooted. You know where you stand even when circumstances shift. This rootedness allows flexibility without loss of center. Beloved, another message present now concerns acceptance of imperfection without compromise of integrity. You no longer demand flawlessness from yourself. You demand honesty. This honesty keeps alignment alive without creating pressure. You may feel less need to label experiences as good or bad. They are understood as information. Each moment contributes to clarity when met with attention rather than resistance. Guidance at this stage emphasizes embodiment. Alignment is not something you think about anymore. It shows in how you move through your day, how you listen, how you pause before acting. Presence becomes practical. Beloved, archangelic influence now works through restraint and allowance. You know when to intervene and when to let things unfold. This discernment preserves energy and prevents unnecessary struggle. You may notice that your relationship with time feels different. You are not racing it, and you are not fearing it. You respect its rhythm. Patience becomes natural when urgency dissolves. Another message here involves gratitude without attachment. You appreciate what supports you, but you do not cling to it. Appreciation flows because trust has replaced fear of loss. Beloved, you are also being guided to release the need for final certainty. Life remains dynamic. Alignment does not freeze it into answers. It equips you to move with it intelligently. You may sense that guidance now feels quiet because it is integrated. Silence no longer feels empty. It feels complete. Remain present without grasping. Remain aligned without effort. Remain open without losing center. This message does not conclude your journey. It confirms your foundation. Beloved, from this place, you no longer seek guidance as something external. You express it through how you live, steadily, honestly, and with calm precision. And from that expression, clarity sustains itself naturally, moment by moment. Beloved, this message reaches you now carrying the subtle, yet powerful reminder that you are moving into a phase of effortless alignment. The work of awareness, patience, and discernment has brought you to a point where guidance flows not as instruction, but as natural understanding within you. You may notice that life's challenges no longer provoke the same anxiety they once did. Situations that would have pulled you into doubt now feel like signals, informational nudges rather than threats. This is the maturity of consciousness speaking. Beloved, another message present now concerns your energy as a sacred resource. You are learning to invest it carefully into thoughts, actions, relationships, and environments that honor your clarity. Wasting energy on resistance, over-explanation, or validation from others becomes increasingly intolerable. What once felt necessary now feels optional. You may feel that your inner compass has grown sharper. You sense with precision when something aligns and when it does not. This discernment is quiet but undeniable, guiding your choices before external events force correction. Beloved, guidance at this stage emphasizes responsibility without burden. You hold yourself accountable without overextending into guilt or worry. You understand that alignment does not mean perfection. It means presence and honesty with yourself. You are also being reminded to honor cycles of pause. Rest is not idleness. It is integration. Allowing time for insight to settle ensures that your actions remain clear, precise, and effective. This rhythm of movement and stillness sustains clarity over the long term. Beloved, another message here is about relational alignment. You are learning that some connections deepen naturally, while others loosen without conflict. Your energy gravitates toward those who support coherence, and it subtly releases those who do not. This is not judgment, it is balance. You may notice that your communication has become quieter but more impactful. Words are chosen intentionally. Silence carries as much authority as speech. You no longer feel compelled to explain yourself to everyone. Truth needs no amplification. Beloved, archangelic guidance at this level works through subtlety. Signs appear in everyday life, small synchronicities, repeated numbers, fleeting thoughts, and intuitive nudges. These confirmations are gentle reminders that your path is coherent, even when it is not visible. You are also being guided to notice that your intuition functions not only in dramatic moments, but also in mundane ones. How you navigate small decisions now carries as much weight as major choices. Alignment lives in everyday life, not only in extraordinary events. Beloved, do not mistake this quiet guidance for passivity. Every action you take now has purpose, but it is rooted in observation, not reaction. You move with intelligence rather than impulse, with presence rather than pressure. Remain attentive to the subtle signs around you. Remain honest when recalibration is necessary. Remain patient with cycles of integration. This message does not call for transformation through force. It encourages stabilization through presence. Beloved, as you continue from this place, your life begins to mirror the coherence you carry within. Alignment now sustains itself naturally, and every step you take resonates with clarity, integrity, and quiet power. And from this resonance, guidance continues to unfold, not as direction from outside, but as an ongoing, internal assurance that you are moving correctly, steadily, and fully aligned. Beloved, this message arrives to remind you that you are nearing a stage where alignment feels effortless, natural, and self-sustaining. You no longer need constant confirmation because your inner guidance has matured. It speaks softly, yet its influence is unmistakable. You may notice that your perception of challenges has shifted. Obstacles no longer feel like disruptions, but rather as markers indicating where attention or adjustment is required. This perspective transforms stress into clarity, chaos into guidance. Beloved, another message here concerns the refinement of your focus. You are learning to invest energy only where it truly matters, into actions, thoughts, and relationships that resonate with truth and coherence. Distractions that once consumed you now feel heavy or unimportant, naturally falling away. You may feel that your intuition has become more precise. It communicates not through dramatic signals, but through subtle nudges and bodily sensations. You notice what feels complete, what feels misaligned, and what requires patience. This quiet awareness is reliable and continuous. Beloved, guidance now emphasizes integration. Awareness, emotion, and action are no longer separate. You act in alignment because your entire being, body, mind, and heart has synchronized. Every choice, small or large, carries coherence. You are also being reminded to respect timing. Patience is not an action. It is an acknowledgement that life unfolds in phases. Acting before alignment is complete expends energy unnecessarily. Acting in rhythm with clarity preserves strength and accelerates natural progress. Beloved, another message present now concerns emotional stewardship. You feel fully without being overwhelmed. Emotions inform you, guide you, and then release. This containment ensures that you remain grounded while still connected to your humanity. You may notice that your relationships shift naturally. Bonds that support mutual growth deepen. Bonds that drain clarity release without conflict. This is not judgment, it is resonance. You attract alignment and release what no longer serves it. Guidance also emphasizes discernment in communication. Words are fewer, yet more potent. Silence carries weight. You no longer need to justify yourself externally, because your presence communicates coherence. Beloved, you are being reminded that true alignment is reflected in daily life. It is not an occasional experience or a dramatic event. It shows in the way you move, rest, respond, and observe. Every ordinary moment becomes a measure of your internal coherence. Remain attentive to what feels steady rather than dramatic. Remain honest with yourself when adjustment is required. Remain patient as integration continues to unfold gradually. This message does not demand perfection. It asks only for consistency, presence, and honesty. Beloved, as you live from this place, life responds quietly but accurately. Guidance is no longer external. It flows through your choices, your awareness, and your presence. Every step forward resonates with alignment, wisdom, and the subtle power of coherence. And from this place, beloved, you move forward fully, intentionally, and with the assurance that you are guided, supported, and aligned in every moment.